you don't just want to think about, oh, people analytics is, performance and comp and
Exactly.
turnover or something. You actually want to unite everything that matters to the business and bring all of that together so that people can understand it. And if you can actually tie the metrics and data that move the business to the people who are ultimately making that happen, you can really accomplish amazing things.
Hi HR Nation, welcome back to another episode of the HR Leaders Podcast, the show where we explore the future of work with industry experts and HR executives in the world's leading global brands. Today I'm joined by Ian White, CEO, CTO and founder at ChartHop. Welcome to the show, how are you?
Great to be here. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has a sofa in the background.
It's part of remote work life is I take a lot of Zoom calls, and it's good to have the sofa, but it's good to move around sometimes too.
Listen, if you can have your own office, then why not have a sofa in the office to relax?
100%. It's the only way to go.
Nice. Well, for those that aren't familiar with yourself or ChartHop, give everyone a bit of a background, both starting with your own personal journey and then kind of how ChartHop came to be.
Sure. So really, ChartHop is a people analytics platform that helps build transparency across an organization. And so the way I came at ChartHop, and really the way I came at my career, is I've been building technology pretty much my whole life. But since I was 10 years old, I've been building tech. But I've always been more interested in technology insofar as it impacts people, right? Tech is only interesting for what we do with it and the potential of technology to improve people's lives. And so I moved to New York about almost 20 years ago, did a bunch of tech startups, and wound up starting a company called Sailthrough, which was in the marketing tech space. We scaled up pretty quickly, went from 2 people to a couple hundred in a short period of time, couple of years. And ultimately, we had a good outcome for that company. But as we scaled and built that company, I really got a little bit of a crash course in the importance of organizational scaling and organizational design, right? I had managed small teams previously, but all of a sudden we had to really think about how we were structuring, creating an organization. And when you're building a team, when you're building a company, there's nothing, you can start with a product, and then maybe it becomes about your commercial strategy or distribution, but ultimately, what really matters, what really lasts, is the culture and the organization and the team that you build. And I felt like that there were great challenges to solve, and that a lot of those challenges were not addressed well by a lot of the HR and people software that I saw and used at the time. And, you think about every other part of the organization has great software and great systems of record and great tools to better understand data, to be able to share and manage information. But for various reasons, HR and people leaders haven't gotten that same level of product, of technology, and haven't had that seat at the table. And then, so I basically started building really the thing that I wish that I had when I was the CTO and founder of a company growing a rapidly changing organization. And so I built it from a few assumptions that were maybe a little bit different from some of the software before. One of them was that people data and organizational data is something that every manager, every person at the company has a stake in building a better and more transparent culture. And so if you build a platform on the assumptions that you actually want the HR and people leader to be empowered to share information with everybody, then that could actually really elevate the strategic work that the people leader does. And so we really built the platform first to be really visual and really interactive, and something that every single person in the organization could use. Mm-hmm. So started building the product. I'm an engineer, so I was able to build the first version myself and share it with various people leaders and early customers, and launched the product about 2 years ago. And at that time, COVID was just starting, and we were moving into this, what became sort of the most challenging 2 years for people leaders. And I think the vision of using data to better inform and transform organizations and better manage and support employees became only more relevant last 2 years. And so felt like it was a right product, right moment, right time. We were a couple people 2 years ago. We just crossed the 200 person mark today. And, it's been a really, really exciting journey beyond.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know where to start with that story. You are right though, to that last point. Like, yes, it is a crazy time to launch a business in space, but in some ways it's the perfect time, because now organizations are realizing they have to have a ChartHop equivalent in place. Otherwise they're really kind of running blind.
It's completely changed the way people are thinking about their people, and the way that people are thinking about the HR and people function. And a company that does not have a great people strategy is going to lose. And that was probably always the case.
It was highlighted even more.
It's now really apparent. It's now obvious to everyone. And I think the solutions that help solve some piece of that challenge and can help really empower leaders and empower everyone in the organization are going to be the solutions that help make the next decade or so what it will be.
Yeah, this is more of a personal question, but I just wondering how I've always seen coders, programmers, etc. as like you got like a superpower. Like, how does it make you feel that you're able to think of an idea like that and bring it to life? This is more just personal question that I wanted to ask you, because I'm always fascinated by the fact that you can be like, this is an idea and you have the technical skills. And how did that get started, by the way, quickly, when you were 10? Was it someone in the family that was also already coding, etc.?
I wanted to make video games. I loved playing my old school NES, and I remember there was a like design your own game contest that I wanted to win. And I said, all right, well, if I design a game, how am I going to make it real? And the only way you can make it real is actually to learn to program and build it. And there was I was very fortunate. Obviously, I had resources at school that could help learn the program. And
you had that ability? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We did like Lego logo was like the thing back then. Uh-huh. And that sort of teaches like basic programming for young children. And my dad also had a book on sort of the basic programming language lying around. And I sort of taught myself basic out of that book. Again, just because I wanted to make I wanted to make the thing.
How many coders do you speak to that started coding because they wanted to make a game? Just out of curiosity, in your network.
So many.
So many.
So I got really into that. In high school, I used to design like multiplayer games, the sort of predecessors to the World of Warcraft type games you have today, but they were all text. I did all that stuff, and I was really just always interested in the kind of the social interactions, right? Like games as a participatory sport.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big gamer, and that's why I game.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
a massive gamer.
What's your
My go-to game is Halo. Like I play
nice.
Halo every week. I've been playing with the same group of
Awesome.
friends that I've never met, by the way, since I was maybe like 12. But like whenever Halo 1 came out and I played it online, I'm playing with the same people. Like back then we were teenagers. Now we've all got kids, jobs. You know, some of them are lawyers,
And
doctors. Never met any of them, but
any
I've known them, 15, 20 years. These same people, and like everything about each other, just never met each other. That's the power of gaming. And like when I'm stressed out or wanna just chill out, just jump online.
Totally. I mean, it's been a while since I was really a gamer.
You ain't got time anymore. You're building ChartHop.
I don't really have time. I've got a business and I've got kids. But I remember, especially from building those multiplayer games, there would be people that I've never met that, we would build and participate and build friendships. It was an amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So always been interested in technology, and I think it is a superpower. Everyone has their own superpower. It's actually one of the questions we ask on the ChartHop About Me profile is like, what is your superpower?
Oh, really? Cool.
What's the one thing you're best at in the world? And it is a very powerful ability to be able to imagine something and be able to very quickly make it real. And I think that's something that's really just it's sort of the addictive nature of building technology is the sort of feedback loop you get from imagining something and making it happen very fast. But I don't think it's the only superpower. I think that one thing we've seen in the industry too is sometimes people building without really thinking about the impact that it's going to have and the consequences of what you're building. And so I think that if you have this superpower of creating, you also have an ethical responsibility to be mindful of the impact that you're having on who you create it for. But it is, and that's why I think when you build a tech company, it's not just about the engineers, right? It's not just it's about the whole team coming together. And I think when you think about the people team and the HR team, that is such a great culture, is such an important competitive advantage for a company. So, I've definitely been very lucky and fortunate that I was sort of, born in a time where I had a set of interests and opportunities that allowed me to create things. But it's important out of that to build things that can have a really positive impact.
Yeah, and to that point, which is the reason I was asking you, it's about building, something which is people-centric, right? That's right. A big focus now for organizations is the employee experience and investing in technology that does have the human at the center of it. And at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be the users and using it every day.
That's exactly right. And so just building something that's really, really people-centric, it's a really fascinating challenge because people are complicated. People can be messy. Like there's a lot of different challenges that, if you model people data, it's not the same as, analyzing a system. It's people are individuals and people have different challenges and needs. And, we're really trying to build a piece of software that can help companies better understand themselves and each other.
Walk us through, what are some of the challenges that companies using ChartHop to solve? What are the main challenges or interesting ones that you want to share with the audience? Because the reason I ask you that is, I won't say a million, but every other day there's another, I won't say another ChartHop because you are ChartHop and there's no other ChartHop, but there's so many companies that are popping up claiming to be the people analytics platform of choice, right? Every day, literally every day, I get another one. What are some of the things that challenges that you're helping customers solve?
So a big one is being able to plan. We're not just an analytics platform that pulls data together. There's lots of tools that can do that, but being able to then jump from data to action is really important. So headcount planning, compensation planning, organizational design and management, performance management. These are all things that people can do directly in ChartHop because they're interacting with it every day, right? Like when you roll out ChartHop to your organization, everybody starts to have this one view of the organization, this one sort of system to understand everything that's going on in your organization. The open roles that you have around the organization, where are they? Where do they report into? What are the bands or leveling structure for those open roles look like? What's going to be the cost impact of adding a new set of roles? You can actually model that in scenario planning or headcount planning within ChartHop. And then once you make a set of changes, you can actually just push it out to your other systems. So it's it actually changes the way it helps everybody think of the organization in the same way that people leaders think about the organization. So usually people start with a planning related use case that they really want to, they've got, headcount plan they need to make. They're doing their budgeting cycle. Maybe they're running their compensation, cash or equity cycles. There's often a driver that they'll initially start with, but over time, the power of just always having the right information at the right time available to everyone is really, really transformational to a company.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, right? Is that information needs to live with all of the leaders throughout the organization, and having that one dashboard where everyone, typically it's just like, oh, there's leaders at the top that have that, but having that across the whole organization and that visibility is very, very powerful.
Totally. It's like every HR leader has the experience of having the business come to them, the rest of the business come to them for answers on this or that question, right? How many people do we have or plan for in this part of the organization? Or what does the turnover dynamic look like here? And being able to have leaders self-serve that information for themselves allows a people leader to start to become a strategic guide or partner to the rest of the organization instead of being just sort of put upon for, access to people information.
What about things like pay transparency? How do you deal with that? Because it's quite a sensitive topic.
Yeah, very much so. So we obviously, to have a platform where we can have all of this data in one place and shared across the organization, it has to have very strong access controls. So you don't, probably anybody who's been a manager or a leader has had at least one experience of sharing the wrong spreadsheet or email with the wrong person. And so we want to make sure that for any organization, the access to data can be really, rolls up in the right ways, and you can put permission controls on everything. That said, once you have an ability to share information in a sort of consistent way, it can actually be a really positive step. And I think different organizations are different places on their sort of pay transparency and leveling journey, but it can actually be a really positive step to start surfacing what are the bands or levels, like with that, start with that, like have everyone internalize the leveling framework for the company and make that actually visible. And then if we're posting, now in some states, you're required to post
exactly. You have
compensation for open positions. Share that information, right? Like I again, there's different organizational cultures and different companies are at different stages in their journey. But I ultimately think you want your compensation philosophy to be one that is fair and sort of rational enough that if you do full pay transparency to your company, nobody should be totally surprised. Like there should be no big buried secrets in compensation. Now, I personally, what we've chosen to do at ChartHop is we share the bands, like what are all the comp ranges for all the different roles and levels. We share that with everyone in the company because we share it in our job postings too. And we actually have since day one of the company. There's just no.
So within each role, you have the bands, and you say it could be from this to this, basically. So
that's right.
Okay.
So yeah. So everybody in the company knows, like, for this role, this is the comp range for this role. And everybody knows what band everybody else in the company is because it's tied to their title and position.
Okay.
That to me is about the right level of transparency, at least for us. I think if you share individual salaries with everybody, it can get a little bit distracting because sometimes those are within the range. There might be because of someone's performance or, but to me that some companies are doing that successfully. To me, that might be a little too much transparency, but the right level for us, we found, is share the bands, share the ranges with everybody, and make sure you're rigorous about adhering and applying those bands.
Mm-hmm. What about things like reducing turnover? Is there something you've seen a big use case?
Yes, definitely.
The Great Resignation, the Great Reimagination, the Great Awakening. How there's a lot of versions of this right now. But companies are seeing huge turnover.
Every company is thinking about it. Every single one, and you can measure retention, but that's ultimately a backwards looking metric, right? Like you obviously want to track it, and some companies are not always tracking retention consistently, but it's more, can you intervene before that employee leaves? And so by being able to surface employee engagement data, so like if you can actually see on your org chart visually, like there's a part of the organization that is super unhappy, like maybe there's a manager issue, maybe there's a personnel issue, like maybe there's something going on with that department that needs to be addressed. Being able to really see it is really powerful. And then being able to look at things like, when is somebody's equity vesting schedule up, right? Like being able to make sure that everybody has a fair compensation package that is motivating and equitable. Being able to surface all this information and actually raise alerts if something is off is a really, really powerful thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. Just out of interest, like a big part of, I'm sure, but making what you do work is the integrations with the other platforms these organizations are working with. I'm not going to go through all the names. We all know who they are. As well, what has your approach been there? Because some organizations, it can be super complex and they've got a million things that they've weaved together internally. It's kind of a bit of a nightmare, like a spider web of solutions.
I feel like we've almost seen it all at this point. It's often people data can be in disparate systems. It can be stored in different ways or messy. We try to sort of make sense of it. So we'll have, often a company will be using two different payroll systems, maybe one for their domestic employees and one for their global employees, or one for contractors, one for FTEs. We can pull it all together, and so that's really helpful. The way we think about the world is integrated. We think of every company, every person is going to want to select different tools for different jobs, and we want to make sure that we plug into and connect to as many different systems as possible, because people should have the right to use their data and use their tools that they want to use. We just want to help people make sense of it all together.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Depending on the organization and the state as well, because these things can take sometimes years to get right.
Yeah,
and people, which they never get it right. It's ongoing. To be honest, there's no end goal there. What makes ChartHop different to all the other solutions that are out there?
I think the biggest is that we unite data with action in one platform that everybody can use. There's some systems that will allow you to get data. There's some systems that will allow you to take actions, and there's some systems that are built just for HR people. And we're a system that allows you data action for everyone in your organization in one place. And I don't think there's anything quite like it.
Mm-hmm. And I think something you said to me offline, a big part of your goal is to make this self-serve, right?
Yeah. So we have launched ChartHop Basic, which is it's a version of ChartHop for every company in the world, for everyone. That's free. It's free for companies up to 150 people, and we made it very affordable.
What can we do? I know. What can you do with that? Well, break it down for me. I'm a small business.
So you sign up, you sync with your payroll system or upload your data. All of a sudden, you've got, in 5 minutes, you've got an org chart visualization of your company that you can superimpose all the data that you've uploaded on top of that org chart. You've got a map of your distributed workforce. You've got a data sheet and reporting that will start to help you begin to understand all of your data and information. You can do one-on-one. You can share with your whole company, have them run one-on-ones with their direct reports that it'll automatically send Slack or email reminders about. You can set up employee profiles so that everyone in the company has a directory and about me to be able to understand everything in one place. And you can celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, including posting them to a Slack channel. So it's really an experience that builds transparency, that's free, that we just want every company to be able to get started on their journey towards building more transparent organizations and their journey into people analytics. So we've made it free because we want to make it possible for every company.
It sounds great, by the way. Is that one of your ways of disrupting the market? Because most companies, your competitors, don't do that, right? Let's be honest. So is that one of your thoughts behind that? Or let's re-disrupt the market and put something out there that for free? Because typically you need to be a large enterprise company to kind of get access to these type of tools, or do a pilot program, or the rest.
We think about things a little bit differently, and I think the term disruptive gets overused, but I think we try to think about things differently and approach things differently. We think we have an amazing platform. I want everyone to use it. We've got so much capability that we sell, and our customers have been really successful with, and our paid business has been growing massively. So why not have a part of our platform just be available to everybody? It's not something that people have typically done in this space, but I think it's something I've wanted to do since I've started the company.
Yeah. I feel like it makes complete sense because at the end of the day, if you get people in there, they're using it to gain value, they're gonna stick with it, right? And they're gonna grow with you. So it's kind of my sales brain and my marketing brain is just makes sense. But at the same time, they're not gonna grow with you if you don't deliver. So you also have to deliver, right? You only get one chance.
That's right.
So you can say it's free, you can say all these things, but if it's not doing what it needs to do, and it's not creating that employee experience, that user experience, and obviously delivering ROI, then it doesn't matter if it's free.
And that's one of the things I actually love about it. You know, as someone who's built, you know, enterprise software for quite a while now, it really, when you challenge your team to make the product self-serve and deliver value, you know, from the get-go, that challenges every part of the product to step up its game and makes it ultimately the system much more valuable for your paying customers. I mean, this is not a new idea, right? Like,
no, of course
many different software companies that take this approach. It's just a little bit of a new idea for the HR.
Yeah, I think
space.
for the HR people analytics space, not so much. It's mainly like jump on a pilot program, or we do something smaller. There's a paid pilot program in that sense. There's a lot of work that goes into that, but just being able to sign up online, check it out, you know, and do it in your own way and within your own freedom to explore, because that's the test, right? Because if they do need to call you in the team and they need your assistance of how I even sign up, you've already failed. Like if they don't, if I don't intuitively know how to do that, then
yeah, no, that's exactly right. And you know, I mean, we get so many people who hear about us, they sign up, and they want to get started. They want to get started right away. And you know, every time someone wants to try out ChartHop and can't do it because of, you know, budget, or they don't want to go through the process of a sales demo, or anytime that happens, like, we failed. We want everyone who can benefit from ChartHop to be using ChartHop.
Yeah, nice. I love it. What are your future plans like? Give us a glimpse of what you think the future of people analytics is going to look like. I know obviously you're doing a lot of some of the things that companies are already doing, but what in your mind, where do you think this is going to go sort of 5 years from now?
I think the direction that we're driving things towards, more transparency across an organization, is definitely where things are going to go. People analytics you're always going to have, you know, people who really focus on people analytics, but I think we're going to see the broader organization become much more aware, able to access people analytics data, and able to better understand the challenges of the HR leader. I think we're going to see much more of the partner mentality between the HR people analytics team and the whole rest of the business. So I hope that ChartHop can be a small part of driving in that direction towards more transparency and more collaboration and better organizations.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're going to get to the point where it's just analytics, right? You don't have to say people analytics. You don't have to say business analytics. You don't have to say market analytics. It's just analytics. It's HR is the business, and the business is HR. Right.
No, that's exactly right. Because you don't just want to think about, people analytics is, you know, performance and comp and turnover or something. You actually want to unite everything that matters to the business and bring all of that together, so that people can understand it. And if you can actually tie the metrics and data that move the business to the people who are ultimately making that happen, you can really accomplish amazing things.
Yeah. Last thing, what advice would you give to our listeners that are considering a new people analytics platform or investing in this space, some small, some large? It's a bit of a minefield. There's a new shiny object popping out every day. What advice would you give? Apart from obviously you're going to be biased and say, you know, check out ChartHop, but what advice would you give to them?
Besides the self-serving advice, I would definitely, I would say it depends on, be, you know, thoughtful with yourself, but where you are as an organization on your journey. Different organizations are going to have different needs. I would really make sure that the platform that you choose allows portability of your data, allows your data to integrate with any other system in any direction, because you want to make an investment in the long term of, you know, any platform you choose. You want to make sure it's going to grow with the business and that it's going to be able to adapt to future needs. So really making sure that the platform lets you get your data in and out, I think, is really important. And I think it's also really important to make sure that there are ways that many different stakeholders and users can use the system, and not just your HR or people analytics team. Because if it's going to be just that group of people, you're going to wind up with a lot of work on your hands over time. You want to be able to distribute the insights across the organization. So that'd be my quick checklist. But I would definitely say sign up for ChartHop and see how that goes.
Try it free, yeah, fantastic. And I think by the time we've released this, that will already be live. So for anyone listening, the link will already be below if you want to check it out as well. But and last thing, where can people connect with you if they want to reach out to you personally and say hi? Where can they reach you?
Just reach out to me. I'm on Twitter at Ian White. I don't tweet too often, but at me at Twitter, or you can just email me at ian@charthop.com. I love to hear from people. I love to hear from customers, from people who are using the platform, and I love to hear from anybody in the space doing interesting things.
Amazing.
So I'd love to connect with folks.
Cool. Well, look, congratulations on all the success so far. Excited to know it's just the beginning, and look forward to chatting again soon for another update. But I wish you all the best until next week.
Thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate it.